Hey, what's going on? Ryan Nolting here with Intersection Records, and we are talking about Ronald Charles McKernan, better known as Ron Pigpen McKernan or Pigpen, from the Grateful Dead. He died 50 years ago this week. Ron was born in Bruno, California on September 8th, 1945. His father was a DJ on a blues station. And Ron, or Pig, he learned piano and harmonica and was singing blues songs as an early man, like many people did of that generation. The blues were huge, huge really in Europe. A lot of the rock stars from the 70s ended up becoming blues crazy. Ron was like that. He had a collection of 45s that was huge, and he just loved that music. In fact, he kind of took on a persona he was an Irish man. In fact, we got a picture of Ron Pigpen. He was an Irish man, but he almost adopted this black persona, and when he would sing, did have a black accent, and used terms like rider for his friends and some black vernacular. He was an organ player, ultimately in the Grateful Dead. He met Jerry Garcia in Palo Alto, California in 1959 when he was 14 years old, and they became fast friends. Along with Bob Weir, in the early 60s, they formed the Mothers McCree Uptown Jug Band and had a band doing covers and blues tunes and some folk stuff. Ultimately they met Bill Kreutzmann on drums. They added Phil Lesh, and the Grateful Dead was born in that classic early quintet. They were obviously ultimately members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for whatever that means. But Pigpen, as maybe some people don't know, he was the front man of the band. Of course, Jerry Garcia sang. Bob Weir would sing a little bit ultimately, and Phil Lesh. But for the early years, Ron would leave the organ and take the mic and actually sing and play harmonica and front the band. He was a dynamic performer. I did meet Bill Kreutzmann one time, and I asked him on a set break, I said, "What was your favorite part of being in the Grateful Dead?" And he immediately said the Pigpen years. And maybe that's what a lot of rock stars say, the early years when you're coming up and you're honing your craft and you're fun and you're broke and you're learning the business. But he quickly did say those Pigpen years. And again, he was a dynamic performer. He was friends. He wasn't a drug guy. So the band got into psychedelic drugs. And, the Grateful Dead started as a blues band. And that music got more and more sophisticated and more psychedelic. He did not take drugs, but he preferred alcohol. In fact, he became friends in the 60s with Janis Joplin, and they were drinking buddies. And they would drink Southern Comfort. And they would drink Thunderbird wine or other fortified wines. And those two, Joplin and Pigpen, they had a pretty brief romantic fling. And in fact, Bob Weir has firsthand knowledge of them keeping him up all night with her screaming, "Oh, daddy, oh, daddy." But, ultimately the alcohol would take toll on his body. Pigpen and Bob Weir were briefly fired from the band in '68 because, Pig's sound was a garage band organ sound. As the band got more sophisticated, they needed a more precise piano player. And in 1968, Tom Constantine came into the band, and they had two piano players for a while. Pig on organ, still singing lead, and Tom, who stayed until early 1970. Some of the famous songs, and again, look at this guy. Look, some of the early songs that Pig would sing, were Alligator, which was the first Robert Hunter Pigpen song by the Grateful Dead. Of course, Robert Hunter ends up becoming a partner with Jerry Garcia and writing all those great songs from Uncle John's Band to Shakedown Street to Scarlet Begonia and so forth. It Hurts Me Too. A couple compositions that Pigpen was part of writing with Robert Hunter were Operator, right? And Mr. Charlie. But it's really the covers that made Pig famous. His version of Otis Redding's Hard to Handle is incredible. I remember being in high school and hearing Hard to Handle by the Black Crowes, thinking that they wrote that song. Well, really, it's an Otis Redding song. And my favorite versions are done by the Grateful Dead with Pigpen singing. They would do Midnight Hour, long 30-minute versions of Midnight Hour. And Pig would take vamps where he would call out people that were not dancing, and call them up, kind of singing in rhyme with the music. Get up and dance with a girl. I know you didn't come here to sit down. Get up and dance with a girl. You say, get your hands out of your pockets. You're sitting there with your hands in your pockets and your face looking all like a fool. Get up and dance with a girl. And he'd have this accent thing going on, Good Loving is another example. Give me your love. I mean, he's bringing it. A Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, a Sonny Boy Williamson song. Love Light, Bobby Blue Bland. Just these are 15, 20-minute versions of these songs that the band could use these songs as an outlet to have long extended jams, and Pig would front, and the guys would take it from there. A couple of my favorite song is Easy Wind. Easy Wind is a Robert Hunter song that Pigpen sang lead on. Ultimately in 1970, Pigpen's drinking, along with an autoimmune disease, created early forms of cirrhosis of the liver. And he's in his mid-20s. He's 24, 25 years old. And doctors basically telling him, hey, you need to stop touring. And really, it's an irreversible liver problem at this point. By 1970, again, he's born in 45. He's 25 years old. He does go off the road. The Grateful Dead hires Keith Gaucho and eventually his wife, Donna Jean. Keith on piano, who is a much more sophisticated piano player. But by December of 1970, Pig's back in the band. 71. Keith comes aboard in August of 71. By December of 71, Pig's back on tour with the band. He is all through the Europe 72 shows, and by May of 72 or so, he has to retire from the road. And unfortunately, on March 8th, 1973, 50 years ago yesterday, he passed away from a gastrointestinal hemorrhage at his bedside. And he left us way too soon. Check out the album Fallout from the Fill Zone, which has Easy Wind on it. It has a great version of Hard to Handle on it. It has the Midnight Hour version. It's 31 minutes long, where he's calling guys out. Get up and dance with a girl. What you doing? That girl wants to dance with you. And he's calling out the girls too. Again, it's just amazing. Easy Wind. One of my favorite songs. Check out this band. Peace out. Subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching all these videos. See ya.